Thank you so much for your patience. Gave everybody a chance to stretch. I appreciate that so much. For those of you who have no idea who I am, and I'm guessing it's a huge portion of this room, my name is Seth Andrews. I spent 12 years in Christian broadcasting. I was host of one of the top 3 Christian morning shows in the country from 1990 to 2002. And I came to a point where I had sort of a crisis of faith and crawled my way out. People often say, well, hey, he's Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist. And I always say, no, that is the Thinking Atheist. The Thinking Atheist is an idea. It's a concept, because those of us who come from religion know what it's like to have all these questions, and we ask somebody about them, and they say, you're thinking too much. You can't put God in a box. You can't understand the mind of God. You have to take it on faith. And I wanted to start a website that encouraged thinking, celebrated thinking. And so that's exactly what I did. I'm not the Thinking Atheist. I'm the guy who ran headfirst into a corner in his own house 2 days ago. I turned a corner in my own house and bam, ran right into it. I've been looking like Harry Potter for the last freaking 48 hours. This has been my posture lately. I host a website, I host a radio podcast, I produce videos. This has been what it feels like. Because, time and again, in the arena of ideas, it seems like we're having the very same discussion over and over and over and over and over and over again. Anybody feel me? Feel me? I call it the greatest hits of theist arguments. And coming from radio, I have formatted it like a greatest hits. Let me put this password in real fast so I can have momentum for the rest of the presentation. This is where a less polished speaker might become rattled and nervous. Pull this up real fast. Because it's such a visual, I'm a producer, so my production, my presentation is so video and visual heavy that if I don't do it, it means I've got to do soft shoe or something at the you guys, yeah, good luck with that. Thank you for your patience.
You're welcome.
Anybody use Windows 8? God, if there is a hell, it is Windows 8. There it is. Because of my technical difficulties, might I indulge if we go a couple of minutes over into dinner? Would that be all right with you guys? I don't want to trespass on your time. Yeah, I'm sorry. All right. Great, there we go. All right, I call them the greatest hits of theist arguments. The stuff you and I deal with all the time, every day. Starting with one of my favorites of all time, Ken Ham, my granddaddy wasn't no monkey. Followed by evolution, it's just a theory. The God of the gaps, it takes more faith to be an atheist. Teach the controversy, you were never a true Christian to begin with. You took it out of context. I had a personal experience. You're just angry. Better safe than sorry, Pascal's wager, there's Little Blaze right there. How did something come from nothing? The eye is too complex to have evolved. Scientist X believes in God. I suggest you read his book. The Bible tells me so. All belief systems deserve respect. America was founded as a Christian nation. Hey, they found Noah's Ark. Again. There are no atheists in foxholes. Semper Fi, carry on. If it ain't true, how come it's been around for thousands and thousands of years? Ignore the Old Testament, read the New Testament. Where do you get your morals from? With a special bonus track, Hitler.
Who was Catholic?
You kill God because you wish to be God. It's not a religion, it's a relationship. Darwin had a deathbed conversion. I had an NDE, a near-death or after-death experience. There are no transitional fossils. Prove he doesn't exist. Why are you stealing my joy? For someone who doesn't believe in God, you should talk about him. You got to help me out with it, with this one. You may not believe in him, but he
Believes in you.
Now, how many people feel like this? Are we having a moment? Are you feeling me? Right? Religion hasn't produced anything new in thousands of years. Science gives us something new every single day, but you and I seem like we're on a broken record. What's going on here? Well, I come from the faith, 30 years in the faith. The faith teaches us not to look around. The faith teaches us not to trust our eyes and to look at the world with an extremely limited field of view. I know I'm not telling you guys anything, but I'm trying to relate an experience. Anybody know what this is?
Yeah. Meaning of life.
What is it?
Meaning of life.
It's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Any of you who are not Douglas Adams fans, shame on you. Of course, you guys are familiar with the story, right? Deep thought. They go and they ask the ultimate question. They say, hey, we want the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And of course, they come back and they end up having to find out, well, what's the ultimate question? What is the ultimate question? And if you read the books, they go through this amazing scenario that involves planet Earth and the human mind and all this. It's amazing. What is the ultimate question? That's the title of my presentation today. It's a question that many are not allowed to ask. We are trained to limit our field of vision and not to ask this question. In fact, we celebrate being ignorant in the church, right? Now, think about it. They bring us as young children into Sunday school and they have us hold these Bibles to our chest and they tell us that Jesus loves us with all our hearts and everything in the Bible is true. Does she have any idea what's in that book? Right? Does she have the life experience, maturity, or perspective to comprehend what she reads in that book? But she knows it's true, and they cultivate this from her earliest ages. Even the scriptures tell us, set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. As we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. The things that are seen are transient. The things that are unseen, they are eternal. If you go to Creation Ministries' website, they'll just tell you, by definition, no apparent perceived or claimed evidence in any field, including history and chronology, can be valid if it contradicts the scriptural record. If it's not in the Bible, whatever it is, you reject it. They're teaching this to a generation. I'm reminded of this cartoon where the science's candle is lit and it says, hit it with your Bible. Now here is a great example of what I'm talking about. Joyce Meyer is an evangelist and millionaire, not necessarily in that order. And she's an author and speaker, and she's gone all around the world. And she wrote a book that's targeted to teens and the parents of teens called Battlefield of the Mind for Teens. And she says this, Satan will look for your child's weakest area and attack at that point. He will attempt to fill your child with worry, reasoning, fear, depression, and discouraging negative thoughts. Did she just lump reasoning in with fear and worry and depression and negativity? It gets better. I once asked the Lord why so many people are confused, and he said to me, tell them to stop trying to figure everything out, and they will stop being confused. I have found it to be absolutely true. Reasoning and confusion go together. I'm sorry, but I have to remind Joyce Meyer that if she's to hold to the Bible she preaches, I'm not allowed to receive any instruction from her as she is a female. How obvious is it? In black and white. Quite often, we're talking about ignorance fueled by fear. They teach us to be afraid. We're afraid of science, we're afraid of anything secular. Here's a great example of a sinister agent sent here to corrupt your children. On August of last year, Bill Nye said this on a Big Think video. He said, evolution is a fundamental idea in all of life science and all of biology. It's like very much analogous to trying to do geology without believing in tectonic plates. You're just not going to get the right answer. Your whole world is just going to be a mystery instead of an exciting place. But if you're a believer, he is an obvious agent of Beelzebub. In fact, our good friend Ken Ham said so much. Bill Nye, who's really the humanist guy, these are Ken's words, is out to get kids and brainwash them into secularism and atheism. We need to do all we can to capture these kids for the Lord Jesus Christ. All right, you want to know how ingrained the fear of secularism or godlessness is in our culture? If you go to dictionary.com, probably one of the top 2 most used online dictionaries in the United States, and you type in the word godless, a synonym is wicked and evil.
Whoa.
We're taught to look up only. We look up with absolute deference and servitude, which is one of the reasons I speak out against it, because as Dawkins once said, I'm against religion because it teaches us to be satisfied with not understanding the world. This is the reason we're still having to talk about the Shroud of Turin. We're having to tell people that the Grand Canyon wasn't created in 5 minutes, 4,000 years ago, right? That we're not a Christian nation, right? Even the religious founding fathers knew the importance of the separation. It's the reason we keep having to tell them that this mound of dirt is not Noah's Ark. Did you know that in a Louisiana school textbook, in a private school, in the ACE program, they're teaching the dinosaurs and man did exist. This is how they're trying to prove that the Adam and Eve story totally works and the young earth works. They're teaching this. Hey, what's wrong with including the Loch Ness Monster in the science textbook? And that's exactly what they're teaching. In fact, they call the Loch Ness a plesiosaur, and they say it's been sighted by submarine and sonar. Teaching it to junior high children. It's the reason that the Creation Museum exists. Have you guys been? I produced a video on it last year. It's called Atheist at the Creation Museum. I don't have time to show it to you now. I'll tell you, I'm still a little bit dead inside. But check this out. I had to show you a clip, all right? Here's Adam in the Garden of Eden. Can you guys start that video for me? Here's Adam in the Garden of Eden, right? With his lamb and his penguin and a vegetarian dinosaur. Weapons, grade, face bomb. I call it guilt porn because it's essentially you are not worth it. You have to pledge allegiance to God. It's the reason we're still having to talk about this. Have you guys seen this video or this photograph on the web? What more proof do you need of the hand of God? By the way, here's the original photograph before somebody took about 12 seconds in Photoshop. The same people who think that God helps Tim Tebow to make touchdowns while 30,000 people starve to death today.
Monumental speech.
I want Silverman to come up here and do the look so bad. Stephen Prothero wrote a book called Religious Literacy, What Every American Needs to Know and Doesn't. And he polled secular and religious people alike to talk about how literate they were about the Bible, right? It's not just ignorance of science and history. How much do people really know about their own Bible? And you would be fascinated.
Yeah, you would.
For example, 60% of Americans can't name even 5 of the 10 commandments, right? The most important commandments ever given to us. 60% can't name even 5 of them. Only 1/3 knew who gave the Sermon on the Mount. 1/3. 75% think the phrase, God helps those who help themselves, is in the Bible. 50% of high school seniors think Sodom and Gomorrah are married. 10% of people polled think Noah's wife was Joan of Arc.
That doesn't even make sense. Oh, Joan of Arc, okay.
As my buddy Aaron Raw once said this, he just summed it up succinctly. He said, ignorance is not just what you don't know, it's also what you won't know. Now, I did an interview a while back that demonstrated what I call a battered spouse mentality in the church. I'm born broken, I'm not worthy to ask questions. I am not worthy. This is cultivated in the church. I am weak, he is strong. I'm born with a void, God fills it, right? I did an interview with my old Christian radio boss from the 90s. He contacted me knowing I was an atheist, and he said, I'd like to come on your show and defend my God. And I said, Nagizova. And for those of you who got through that 2-hour slog, I want to say thank you, and your purple heart is waiting out at that table. But I'm going to need audio for this. I'm going to play you a short clip of what he said that demonstrates the mentality of what we're up against.
Here's my belief. Hey, you are what you are at your worst moment. You can't judge me at what I am at my best. Because my true condition is always going to be what I am at my worst. And here's what I am at my worst. I'm arrogant. I'm unbecoming. I'm unlovable. I'm self-centered. I'm greedy. I'm all the very things that I don't want to be. But yet, here's the deal. I get up every day and I look at myself in the mirror and I go, I don't have any, I've got the desire to be different, but I don't have any power.
I have the desire, but I have no power. Even the Bible tells us there's not even one righteous, not even one. I produced a video, I guess it was 6 weeks ago, about we talk about intelligent design. You know, the same people who see the pretty rainbows and the sunsets and the mountain vistas, and they say, who could look at that and not know that there was a designer in this world? And then, of course, a tsunami kills 250,000 people, and they go, well, whatever, right? Well, I produced a video. I don't have time again to show it to you, but it's called Intelligent Design. And it carefully juxtaposes some of the best design with arguably some of the worst design. Earthquakes, tsunamis, carnivorous animals, disease, infant death, you name it. It's a pretty hard look at that. Well, there was a guy, his name is Vaz Rana, of the website Reasons to Believe. He has a PhD in biochemistry, and he believes in Jesus. He also believes that all of this design is much better than we think. And he produced a response video. Now, I don't have time to show you the whole thing, but I brought a clip that demonstrates more of what I'm talking about. You guys might have to fire this manually. Can you back me up? Or start me over? Thank you.
If you want life on a planet, you have to have tectonic activity. No tectonic activity, no life. To have a planet without earthquakes would be to have a planet without life. And it's important to note along these lines that a recent study done by 2 engineers published in Nature demonstrates that over 83% of the deaths that result from earthquakes in the last 3 decades has been directly attributable to government corruption. That is, it is due to moral failing on the part of humanity, not due to the nature of the world that we live in.
Your sinful living causes tectonic plates to move adversely. A PhD in biochemistry. How does this happen? I'm reminded of the old quote that says this. It says, birds born in a cage think flying is an illness. I'm from Oklahoma. This last spring, we had a horrific and tragic event. On May 20th, an EF5 tornado blew through Oklahoma City. devastating a community. I've been through 2 twisters personally in my life, and I'll tell you, that'll wake you up in the morning. And this town has just been devastated. In fact, they've been hit 3 times in the last 15 years. Here's a look at 99 to 2003, the damage path. It was a story of one mother and her infant driving in a car. The car flipped over, the twister sucked them both out of the vehicle and killed them. It's horrible. Here's Moore Medical Center. It's devastated. People were looking for hope anywhere they can find it. I understand the need for hope. Well, here's an example. An article that was posted in the Christian Post. Michael Alexander found a Bible in the debris field, and guess what? It was opened up to Isaiah 32:2. And of course, the media laps this stuff up. Here's another story. Bible pages found in Oklahoma storm. Seen as sign of hope. Found by a guy named Danny Moody. I think he found him on the windshield of his car. Now let's look at this. This is Plaza Towers Elementary School. I was watching on the internet. We plugged the computer in Tulsa in to the live feed from Channel 9 in Oklahoma City as the twister barreled toward this school. At the end of a school day, the kids had nowhere to go. Trapped in the twister, it blew over the entire facility, devastated it, and 7 children in the basement drowned. On live television. But my God still delivers. Delivered a few pieces of paper on the windshield of the pickup truck. And this tweet was known pretty much all over the country, and I think spread around the world as a sign of hope. Let's look at it side by side. God saved a couple of pages out of the book of Psalms, and he chose not to save 7 innocent children. In fact, there were, I believe, 40 total who died in that twister. Now, people go crazy. God bless more signs appear everywhere. People were spray painting them in Krylon all over the place. Pray for Oklahoma became a popular poster and hashtag. In my distress, I cried out to the Lord. Yes, I cried. He heard me from his sanctuary. My cry reached his ears. Really? Really? Our own mayor, our own governor went on national television. She asked for prayers. Celebrities. We're spreading the hashtag, pray for Oklahoma, pray for Oklahoma. Even President Obama, our prayers are with the people, and he spread the hashtag, pray for Oklahoma. Beyonce, Rihanna, Katy Perry, Carrie Underwood, Alicia Keys, and so many other celebrities said, pray for Oklahoma. Ricky Gervais said, I feel like an idiot now, I only sent money. To his credit, he didn't just gripe about it. He went on his own Twitter pages, and he has 10 million followers. Oh, I'm sorry, 4.6 million followers. And he said, give, 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 give. And he was proactive about human solutions. Human solutions. Human solutions. But I'm sorry, God was totally uncaring at 6 p.m. as the EF5 blew through, and at 7 p.m., he's ready to receive your petitions? How do we get to this point? Well, we justify it out of 2 Corinthians, for our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory. Light and momentary troubles? Really? We say, well, it's all part of the plan. Ignorance driven by fear. We're afraid. We're afraid to ask the ultimate question, and I will get to that. I want to play you another clip from the show I did with my boss. I spoke to him right before the Colorado Secular Conference, and he set me up to do something, and I'm going to repeat that tonight for you, because I'm a giver. Okay. Listen to this.
Okay, this is what I want you to do. This is how you can prove this to me. Okay? Because I think you do.
I think I believe.
I think you do, and I think you have some doubts about it, and here's how you can undeniably prove it to me. I got on your website before we got on earlier today, and I think are you going to Colorado?
Yeah, I'll be there on Saturday.
Okay, here's what I want you to do on Saturday. How many people will be there?
A few hundred.
What do you think? 200. This is what I want you to do. I want you to get down on your knees, and I want you to invite Satan to come into your life. That's what I want. I want you to go, you know what? Satan, if you're out there, you know, I don't even know if you're out there, but there's nothing that I want more than you. If you exist, I want you to come into my life, and I want you to have every part of me.
I got your attention, don't I? All right. I thought about his baiting me on the show, and I thought this: my days of bowing down are over. They're over. And it would not be truthful to say I want you to be the Lord of my life, because I'm in control of my life, right? But I found a happy compromise, and I thought I might just perform it in front of a live audience today. So let's pray to Satan. Dear Satan, I am the Lord of my life. I don't believe in devils, demons, or hell. In fact, I feel a bit ridiculous talking to a character I find as real and threatening as Lord Voldemort. But as a proponent of science, I believe in being thorough. So if you exist, Satan, in this host of 200 witnesses, or however many we have today, I offer myself as a vessel for you to prove your power. Enter my heart, my body, my soul, or whatever is necessary for proper and unambiguous manifestation. And may my own eternal damnation provide the opportunity for the rescue of others. It feels ridiculous, doesn't it? I'm pissing people off in my last slide. I said, hey, as long as you're coming, could you bring me a cherry cheese Danish and a espresso? All right. Carl Sagan once said this. He said, avoidable human misery is more often caused not so much by stupidity as by ignorance, particularly in our own ignorance about ourselves. We're afraid to ask the ultimate question. Well, what is the ultimate question? I believe it's different for everybody. I believe it is a different question for everybody. It is a time in their lives, the first time, possibly, that they felt the courage to ask the taboo question that would alter the trajectory of their lives. The ultimate question is asked without or in spite of fear. It's more interested in facts than comfort. It's designed for knowledge over belief. It includes the whole of humanity, not segregated portions of it. It won't allow the answer to be a cheat. It's not afraid to hear, we don't know yet. It's asking a voice that's prepared to speak alone against a roaring mob or a deafening silence. It represents curiosity, passionate curiosity, defiant curiosity about the things that we are told we are not supposed to know. When I went to the Colorado conference, I wrote a letter on the plane because I felt there was a need for encouragement in this movement. How many of you, if you're comfortable raising your hands, have come out of religion to some sort of personal and or professional consequence? May I see your hands? How many of you have been told by people around you that you are broken because you are not religious? I would like to leave you with this letter. It's a couple of pages long, but I hope it will encourage you in your own journey. And I'll just read it because I want it said a certain way. You learn a lot about people when you declare that you're not going to live your life by their rules. And many in this room know well the consequences of doing something so shocking as to be an individual. A singular voice, an often inquisitive voice, with its own tenor, its own style, its own song, its own message. You and I live in a world where conformity is comfort, and we all know well how comfortable people can become. So many voices are merely an echo, a hand-me-down from a previous generation, and the generation before, and the generation before. Breaking that cycle is unthinkable, and why would they ever consider it, as the cloak they inherited feels so warm and safe? Everyone around them looks like them, walks like them, talks like them. Everyone except for you. They nod in agreement, you raise an eyebrow of doubt. They just know the answer. You just know the answer raises many more questions. They take security in staying on the path. You feel compelled to carve one of your own. But this is not what was expected of you. They laid out the guidelines for a proper person to live. And they'd make sure you turned out right no matter what. So what the hell happened? At this very moment, someone carries embarrassment and shame that they failed as a parent because you were co-opted and corrupted, because you rewrote the playbook in a language they consider to be foreign, confusing, and ugly. Now, you had two choices. You could keep the peace and line up with the others, or you could walk at your own pace in your own direction for your own reasons and accept the challenges, consequences, and rewards that come with being your own person. The fallout has been significant. These days, when they look at you, they only see what they think you should have been, what you could have been, if only you had done things their way. They speak the words of love, but just barely. Just barely. And by lacing it with distance and disdain, they cheapen the word. In fact, every time they look at you and say, I love you, you get a bitter taste, like you've just been schmoozed by a politician whose only real concern is to change your vote. Yeah, they loved you. But the full package, the 100%, the unfiltered love, that's kept on reserve until you straighten up, obey, and conform. Not until you start acting normal. Well, for just a second, let's take a look at normal. It's a husband and wife married per the Bible, in a church and under God, condemning non-heterosexuals for ignoring and even desecrating the lawful and ordained marital union that they now enjoy after 2 divorces. It's a mother telling a daughter that sex is dirty, her body is dirty, that sexual desire is lust, sinful lust, and that she's cursed by the fall of Eve in the garden, a byproduct of sin designed to gain her worth from a future husband who, according to the book of Genesis and the design of God, will rule over her. It's a teacher frightening a 6-year-old child with a fiery hell and a devil lurking in the dark with designs on its very soul. It's thanking God for food grown and prepared by human hands. It's giving God the glory for providing the new car that came with a 5-year payment book. It's praying for safety after buckling your seatbelt, locking your doors, and loading your handgun. It's praying for healing after you call 911. It's Sunday school songs. It's a Bible on the nightstand, a check in the offering plate, an evangelist on the television, a Jesus fish on your car, and a t-shirt that reads, 7 days without Jesus makes 1 week. It's a prison designed to look like a mansion, and you are not going to live like that. You've read the books and seen the history and learned the science and realized that the world was much, much grander than most people ever imagined. You finally found your own voice, and you're going to speak in it. You've had the epiphany that you don't owe it to the rest of the world to keep them happy. You owe it to yourself to create happiness. And even though wherever and whenever you can, you say the words and take the actions and build bridges and soften the sharp edges that demonstrate a love for people and a desire for a better world, you're not a sheep to be led, an echo to be repeated, a cautionary tale, a bad example, a freak, a pervert, broken, or ugly. You're not ugly. You're beautiful. You figured out what so many billions of others have missed. That this life is too precious to spend in somebody else's shadow. That by judging everyone and everything that's different, you only indict your own shallow heart and cheat yourself out of the amazing depth, breadth, color, culture, and humanity that's so much more wonderful than the tiny rooms people lock themselves into and the narrow tunnels they walk. That believing in things without evidence isn't a virtue, it's something to be pitied. That sexuality isn't shameful, but something to be celebrated. That the condemnation of what's wrong, even when it's called sacred, is an obligation of any moral creature. That your hopes, dreams, desires, loves, pursuits, and passions belong to you and you alone. That you've stepped out of the crowd to stand forward, to stand out, to stand your ground, to know that even though you occupy a tiny speck upon a tiny speck inside this vast universe. And even though you don't believe your Father is a divine king and your mission's written in a magic book and your home is in the heavens, your life is wonderful and amazing and precious and so much more satisfying. It's a life where every day brings the opportunity to ask the ultimate question. Now, is that kind of life easy? No. Is it popular? Maybe not. But be encouraged, my friends. Because inside this 13.7 billion-year-old universe, there has never been anyone exactly like you, and there never will be again. And you're simply living a life that honestly reflects that fact. And while others laugh at you because you are different, you can laugh at them because they are all the same. Thank you very, very much.